Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at onpurposely.com.
I think song is the thing that is maybe deepest in the human experience. There are sociologists who believe that song transcends language, that the song came first.
Welcome to the Passion Meets Purpose podcast. My name is Sarah Taylor. This is where we discuss the things that you're naturally good at, your gifts, your talents, your abilities, and then how do you put those on display for the rest of the world? Let's jump in with today's guest.
Yes, this is Jon. How you doing, Sarah?
I'm good. How are you, Jon?
I'm well, thanks.
I might have let out an audible ew when I saw the email that you guys are doing what you're about to do this year.
Yeah, we're so excited about it as well. I might have let out a little something like that as well.
What does your excitement sound like?
Oh, I'm kind of more of the Southern California surfer singer guy, so maybe it's just more of a smile, I suppose.
Yeah, you guys, that's one thing about you guys. You're so laid back. And is that just a whole surfer vibe? Like, is this what I need to get rid of my anxiety is to take up surfing?
I will say that you realize how small your problems are when you're face to face with the enormity of the infinite horizon in the form of the Pacific, you know? It really puts everything in perspective.
And also, something is healing about that salt water.
Yes, there is. Yeah. I do think that's why we are still a band, is because we like surfing together.
Let's talk about this record. You're calling it our version. Is that correct?
Yeah. So The Beautiful Letdown is a wild story. The original album almost never came out. We got dropped by our label just before the record came out. And so we were faced with the awkward conversation within our own band as to, do we believe in these songs or not? You know, is it worth the fight to get them heard or not? And we kind of said, you know what, no matter what the record label says, we believe in these songs. Let's go. And somewhere in the next year or so, it felt like people started singing along with us. And you know, eventually the very label that dropped us, you know, picked us back up after 2 million albums sold. And that's the story of The Beautiful Letdown. So we figured 20 years later, to celebrate this Underdog album, we're going to make our version for ourselves and all the underdogs out there. And we're going to play the entire album from start to finish for the first time live in a lot of our favorite cities. And one of them is Seattle, and we're coming your way soon.
So you have to know that those of us that were there in that tiny, I don't even remember the name of the venue, but it was like the size of a small garage. And we were we're all inside of whatever that place was, you know, as 20-somethings. And now you realize that all of us as 40-somethings are coming back and, you know, our knees and our lower back and all of that, like there's been some changes.
Yes. Go on.
So what is your plan for, you know, all of us? Are we just going to kind of go back in a time machine 20 years ago and relive all those memories?
Well, I can't tell you what's going to happen. I do know we're going to play every song from start to finish on that album. And I think the beautiful thing about that record is, you know, there's a lot of albums and songs that feel like they are trapped in a time machine. And like a song, for example, that a friend of mine wrote about his ex-girlfriend that he doesn't think about anymore, but it's his big hit and he's got to play it every night. And, you know, for me, I'm really thankful that the songs on that album kind of transcend that specific time. They still mean so much to me, you know, 24, Meant to Live, Beautiful Letdown, Dare You to Move, This Is Your Life. It feels like I mean it still. And so that's the beautiful thing. I don't know what's going to happen in 2023 playing these songs, but I know that I'm so excited about playing them.
Do you like seeing your fans that have, we were talking around here and saying Switchfoot fans are for life. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I mean, it is such an incredible community that I do not take for granted. It is a gift to any form of community, I think, especially in 2023 is to be celebrated. I think that entropy and divorce and all of those things, they happen to all of us. And yet when there's something that unites people, I'm thankful for it. And to be a part of that, I genuinely feel like I am one of the voices singing these songs, not the voice. And that is a gift.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Those are my favorite moments at the show, is where the whole crowd takes over. Do you like that too?
Yes, I love that. That feels like, it's funny because I'm a reluctant singer. I am a singer of these songs just because no one else would sing them. So I feel like when I hear the rest of the crowd singing and I can drop the microphone, that is victory, not defeat. That is my favorite.
What does, Jon today think of when you're redoing these songs? Like how do you relate to them still, but how are they different?
Yeah, it's so funny because that album was made in 2 weeks total, which is really fast to have the recording and mixing process all happen in that short amount of time. And so there was a certain magic when we opened up a lot of those old tracks where you think, man, I wouldn't have done it that way, but there's something special about it. So some of the things, as we recreated this record, some of the things were very easy to beat. Things that we've learned along the way about how to do things. And other things were, impossible to beat, where you just say, no, that was that moment. And it is what it is. That's what 20 years does, So, but 2023, our version this year, I'm so proud of it. And it really kind of feels like the kind of an exclamation mark to a record that means a lot to us.
I hope you guys have beefed up the data package on your website, because I have a feeling when these tickets go live, I wouldn't be surprised if the server crashes.
Yeah, we called Taylor Swift and said, hey, any tips? And
what's the protocol? Nice.
Taylor, how do you do this? What do you do here?
Right. One fun thing that I love is that, you're a band of brothers, but you also have a literal DNA brother in there. And your parents wrote a book on parenting, which is one of my favorites. This was years ago. I got a chance to interview them, and they just dropped all their wisdom about raising big picture kids, which is something that they did with you. Do you want to talk a little bit about your upbringing and how that shaped you?
Yeah, it's so funny because I think you only know what you know. You don't know someone else's experience. No one else is an expert on someone else's experience. I think when you're a kid, you think your experience is everyone's experience because it's all you know. And I grew up playing, Led Zeppelin and Keith Green and not really knowing the difference. Kind of feeling like, yeah, there's parts that I like and dislike about both of them. And I think, and I look back now and I think, wow, that's pretty unusual to have a family that reaches its arms around art like that. And so I do feel like so much of who we are as a band is with the understanding that really what you have is your story, your honesty. And as a songwriter, if you bring that to the table, that is something that, open-minded people everywhere will say, oh, I want to hear more. That sounds like a good story, or not, but it feels like this egalitarian approach to listening and entering in with compassion. And I do feel like that part of my childhood was rare, and I'm thankful for it.
You guys are always up for, I feel like always up for anything, especially if it involves serving others. And you've been so generous with your time when you come out here to Seattle. Last time you guys were here, you went and did an acoustic show at Seattle's Union Gospel Mission and Hope Place. And talk to me just a little bit more about, you've traveled the world, you've met all kinds of people. What have you noticed just about people? You always want to spend time with them no matter where you are. You're very present in the moment. I know that's part of naturally who you are, but tell me just a little bit more about, as someone that's seen all cultures, all places, what do you see that's common, a common bond among people and music?
I think I'm learning to love the inconvenience. And I think we in America, we celebrate convenience and things that happen quick and they're automated and you don't have to think about them. And yet people are not that way. Friendship, love, certainly being a parent, nothing is convenient about it. And yet these are the things that we need and want the most in our lives. These are things that we value the most. Community, friendship, all of these things that take time and are inconvenient. And I think the beauty of music is that it requires time. It is time travel. You are in a different spot in time when the song ends than when it began. It is not convenient to sit there for 4 minutes and listen, but it is transformative. And I think that it slows me down when I stop and listen to a song. I'm reminded that true music is live music, that it's something that you have to experience and you can't press stop on it. And, I think that my favorite communities are the communities that I've encountered around the world, whether it's like, Tijuana or Bangladesh or wherever, where they're slower and they look you in the eye and they have time for the conversation. Those are my favorite communities. And it's ironic. There's a story when we were leaving Seattle one time. We had our bus parked in the parking lot next door to the venue we were playing, and there was a mix-up. The guy wanted to charge us money for for our bus, and we were trying to communicate, no, we were with the venue. We don't need to pay. And it took, 15 minutes to get it sorted out. And at the end of it, he said, "Oh, thank you." And there's a language barrier. And at the end of it, he said, "Thank you for the inconvenience." And I'll never forget that phrase. It kind of stuck with me. Thank you for the inconvenience. And so that's kind of been something I've been leaning into lately. Thank you for the inconvenience.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, in order to be thankful for the inconvenience, you have to have that attitude that you just shared that you see in the cultures like Bangladesh that are your favorite, which is where presence with the person you're with is valued above everything else.
Yes, it's a gift.
It's like the best gift, especially now. If you give someone full eye contact, it's almost like, wow, what did I do to deserve such attention?
It's unsettling, right? If someone says, like, "How are you doing?" and they mean it, you're like, "Oh, my goodness. I don't even know."
And then they ask you a question and they listen to your answer and give you a follow-up question on what you just said.
Right? Yeah. Who has time for that?
Here's a kind of a question. You can take it however profound you want to, but kind of in line with everything we just said. We've talked about the power of music, but why do we sing? Why do we feel compelled to participate, right? Why does the crowd sing along with you? Why does music and singing reach a different spot inside of our soul than just something being spoken?
Great question. So I am not a sociologist, but my mom was. That's my degree. No, but I think that very little of what we do in 2023 is tapping into what it means to be human in any other century other than our own. Most of what I do and the things I interface with, this phone that I'm talking in, even the guitar, the microphone, electricity. My grandfather, 100 years ago, he lived to be 102, passed away recently. He lived in a world where cars were not, there were other forms of transportation other than cars. Electricity was not everywhere, certainly not computers, telephones, all these things that we take for granted. And my point is, I think song is the thing that is maybe deepest in the human experience. There are sociologists who believe that song transcends language, that the song came first, and being a singer, I like that theory.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it truly taps into this idea that when we're speaking, there's a musicality. It's maybe less than song, but it's similar. And I think that, previous societies, even 100 and some odd years ago, if you said music sales, you were talking about sheet music. And so the only way that music would exist back then was you had to play it. You had to have someone with a piano or a guitar, and you'd sit around and you'd sing it. And that was your television. And I think that when we sing together, we're tapping into that thing that, centuries ago, that's what we did around the campfire. That's what we did when we were walking long distances. And that's what we still want to do together, joining us together.
I also feel like it's something that children usually naturally do when they're little.
Yeah, totally.
Before they learn to stop.
Yes. So many things that children do naturally that, without any need to be taught, that somehow we can't do when we're older.
Whenever I mention Switchfoot, it's so interesting. I get, they influenced my faith, or that was my husband and mine's first concert, or like it's literally a moment, like a mile marker moment with one of your songs or one of your shows that's like deeper than I love that band, if that makes sense. Tell me, I know that you hear that often. What do you think it is, maybe specifically about The Beautiful Letdown, or just your career in general and your songwriting in general, that causes people to have like a faith moment?
I mean, that is a gift. I can't say that I know where it comes from. I am thankful for that. And I think, all our goal has been, we've been really transparent with our goal from the beginning, is just to be honest. And I think honesty might encourage honesty, if maybe it's like the laws of thermodynamics, where, an object will remain in rest unless it's acted upon by another object. Reciprocal response, the idea that when someone encounters honesty, maybe it encourages honesty within them.
Yeah, I think that's really accurate. Also, I was not expecting you to quote thermodynamics in this interview, like from memory, like where is that living inside of you?
I dropped out of college, but I loved it.
So you are a lifelong student, I feel like.
I do have a lot to learn, and I love the posture of a student, because I think it's true. And I think that the moment you identify as the one who knows, it's a place of vulnerability, not strength. And I think it makes you vulnerable to all sorts of blind spots. We all got blind spots, and I'm sure I've got mine, but I think it's better to up front say, yeah, I'm not sure. Let's find out.
One of the experiences I've had, I think it was 2 shows ago, I don't know, when you guys were out here, and my husband went with me, and Joel is his name, and he doesn't cry a lot at stuff, So we're at your show, and my favorite moment is always when somebody or 5 people bring a big white sheet that says Where I Belong, and you guys start that song, and everyone's just singing, and I look over, and he has one tiny maybe tear that has not left the corner of his eye, but just like hangs out right there.
Yeah,
we'll call it a glistening.
Yeah.
A glisten. And I pointed and I smiled and I said, I go, that one got you. It got you. And he's like, what? I don't know what you're talking about or whatever. And it is our joke to this day. And so when I tell him you're coming back, I'm like, oh, the song's going to get you. It's going to get you, And so, yeah, that's my song of your guys's. And I know it's not on The Beautiful Letdown, but I'm going to throw it in the request line. Are you only playing that record?
So we're going to play that record start to finish, and then we're going to play songs off of the rest of them. It's so funny because that song is also, it gets our manager as well. And he's not at all that guy. But every time he's like, I have to go to the other room when you play that one. But
so you know what I'm talking about. He gets the
yeah,
glisten.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so funny. Yeah, there's something about that one that can just break a man down, Jon.
I mean, the funny thing is I want to just point out I am not immune to that. I kind of embrace that. There's a line in that song that says, "I'm not sentimental. The skin and bones is a rental." But the truth is, I actually probably am sentimental. So there you go.
Yeah, I think we all know that, but at least you can admit it now. What are your closing thoughts, Jon?
No, I just think I look back with such gratitude at where this album has brought us. It has brought us around the world, and I'm so thankful for these songs. I do feel like songs are things that come to you rather than things you create. And a chair is something that doesn't come to you, It's more like fishing, I suppose, where you put your hook in the water and see what happens. And I am so thankful that these songs came our way. And then I'm thankful for the journey we've been on since, even the record label that dropped us. I'm thankful for all of it, and I'm so excited to be, kind of throwing this birthday party for this record that means so much to us.
I want you, because we have a couple minutes left, I want you to talk a little bit more about how songs come to you. Tell me a little bit more about how you receive a song like that. You don't create it, it finds you.
Yeah, I think that maybe surfing's a good analogy. You look around, you find the spot that looks inspiring, that might produce something, and you put your wetsuit on and you wax your board and you paddle out. And yet you have no control over the ocean, and you enter knowing that you do not control it. You can get better at learning what's happening. You can get better at riding waves, but you cannot create them. And I think that music's the same way, where you enter in with this humility and this gratitude, where you say, I don't know what this is going to be like, but I'm excited and I'm present to the moment and I'm here. I think that there's a certain amount of being in a receptive posture in both surfing and music, songwriting.
Yeah, I can totally see that. Do you have like how do you get in that zone?
I feel that wonder is imperative for songwriting and for any creative act. I think that to be wondering and curious is a gift that is often not seen as a gift by our contemporary culture. I think to be unsure is post-enlightenment almost a curse word or something,
Mm-hmm.
And yet science is the process of wondering and presenting a hypothesis and proving it or disproving it. Ultimately, it's our attempt to approximate what is happening around us and understand it. And I think songwriting is the same thing, where you wonder. You say, this feeling I have within me, I'm gonna pick at it for a little while. I'm gonna dig in this soil and see what lies beneath the surface. And so, yeah, wonder is the first step.
It's another thing that kids have until they learn not to.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. And I think the irony too is the better, as you become better at songwriting, I'm putting that word in quotes, better, you can learn the wonder. You can unlearn it, and you can lose it. And I think that's where it has to be rediscovered. You have to find the wonder somewhere else. So you get really good at 3 or 4 chords on the guitar. You have to find new places to wonder. You get really good at writing about a certain subject. You have to find a new soil to dig in.
I think that works for people too, actually. Like the people closest to us, like I'm thinking of my family or my kids or whatever. Like I like to, just when I think I have them figured out, I like to find that next layer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think women instinctively do this pretty well. I mean, maybe better to just typecast women and men. I think women do it better than men in general, is to be a little bit more big picture and understanding that the ocean can change, that it has many different moods, and yet it's the same ocean. And to be accepting of that and curious and wondering. And it's something, again, I'm a student and trying to get better at it.
Final question for you. I squeeze out every last drop here.
No, I'm honored. Great questions.
Oh, thank you. Final question for you, unless I come up with another one, is, you inspire a lot of people. Who is someone that inspires you and why?
Oh, there's a lot of people that come to mind. And ironically, the one that comes to mind at the top of my mind is my daughter. She is so inspiring to me. She had a brain injury when she was very young, and she is an overcomer in ways that still inspire me. It's fun. It's kind of a strange, funny thing to say, but when I surf, when there's a big swell, a larger waves are coming through, I think of her and her learning how to crawl and walk against challenges and setbacks. And that is, I think, incredibly inspiring to me. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Daisy.
That's right.
That is so beautiful, that analogy.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all face big waves in different ways. And I don't think you have to be in the ocean to find some analogous form of terror or fear, or disappointment, whatever it is.
So wonderful. Yeah, that was my last question. So I'm just so thankful that you guys are doing this year. And I speak for pretty much every person at the station that knows about this. Like, every single person is like, I'm there. Like, we are so, is Seattle a little bit more special for you guys than, some other city? Just say yes.
Of course. I love Seattle. I have so many amazing memories in Seattle. So Seattle was one of the first few places that we toured where we were able to play there and have people show up. It sounds like you were at one of those shows.
Yeah,
where you thought, oh man,
little intern.
Yeah, maybe dropping out of college wasn't a horrible decision. Seattle was absolutely one of those places.
Oh, good. Well, you're going to get just as much of a warm reception, if not more, because you're going to make all of us 40-somethings feel young again. So thanks for that.
Well, we can feel young and we can feel old, but we'll do it together.
Yes. Yes. Jon, thank you so much for your time. My best to you.
Likewise. Thanks for your great questions as well.
Thanks so much for being here today on the Passion Meets Purpose podcast. We're going to talk again in 2 weeks, but in the meantime, if you want to do us a huge favor, obviously you know this by now, if you leave a review, it really helps others to find this podcast. It also helps us to make it better. And then you can contact us anytime at Purposely Podcasts. Until next time, thank you.